Big thanks to the IIM Lucknow for inviting me here to connect with you people of the younger generation. Probably for some of us who are now, in a stage where we want to share our experience, this is probably the best setting. So, and what an amazing exposition we saw from Dr. Vaya about what is inside the mind. This is also what I would also like to talk to you about. Thanks again for the very generous introduction which has been given about me. Let me see, as we stand today here, I want to speak about India as a nation. We are poised at a very pivotal point. Can we find the right answers to ensure that we take a rightful due place in the Committee of Nations? I do hope so that we will be able to find that answer. In my opinion, the very critical challenge which is with us is to deliver effective, impartial, and efficient public services, which is a challenge for us. We are not only the most populous nation in the world, there is an increasing scarcity of land, of water, of forests, that also adds on to the already formidable challenge. It doesn't help that we have almost an indifferent machinery which is supposed to deliver those services. So that is the challenge. I personally feel that if we are able to do this, we will be able to find our rightful place. But it is not as simple as it sounds. I have spent almost 4 decades in trying to sort of do something about efficient public delivery. And in that process, I have seen the obstacles which there are. I have seen the scarcity of resources. I have seen the mindset of people who probably do not want to wait for the answers, who would want to exert some extraneous influence and find a very quick answer. Therefore, we have a system wherein there is impartial delivery of services for those who are probably connected, for those who are probably affluent. The services are much better than for the common citizen. This is not how it is supposed to be. If this continues to be so, probably will not be able to find the right solutions. So, what is to be done? In fact, in almost last 4 decades, I have had this occasion to serve as a leader in different roles at the district level, at the state level, even at the national level. I was very blessed to find all those responsibilities to start with, and I'm very grateful that I could deliver a bit of what I could do. In these years, we have seen a very humongous change, technological, infrastructural, commercial, communication. Everything has changed so tremendously. It's absolutely amazing. And that is what has allowed us to stride forward as a nation and as a society. But what has not changed? Some say change is the only constant. But what has not changed? What has not changed is the human frailty, the human greed, the human need to take power, to use power as a dynamics and influence in the society. The greed, corruption, and vanity is what really is a problem. Now, that being so, why have we not been able to find the right answers to technology? There has been a huge effort which has been made in the last decades by technologically improving the public service. Now you go for a passport. And there are designated time zones and everything. I'll tell you a very small example only of the last week, where a person had applied for a passport. For 2 weeks, the matter had remained stagnant for a verification. And one thought that it should happen on its own course. It didn't happen. You reach out to them and they do it in one day. Now, this is exactly the sort of situation which we need to avoid, which is what is actually pulling us back. What can be done? One model has been, and which has seen to work very effectively, that delivery of public services is a function of leadership. If we have a responsible leader who is willing to sort of take on the onus, then certainly the same patchy delivery systems manage to go up several notches on a higher scale. This is something which doesn't happen all the time. It keeps changing. But when there is enough effort applied, there are results which are there to be seen. I have seen this happening in cases of whether it be a team of 4 people, whether it be a team of 20,000 people. At a particular point of time, I was leading about 100,000 people. And when I want to say that you have to take responsibility, you be an effective leader, how do you go about doing that? I will take you to this very ancient thought, What I am saying is nothing new. It is something which has been there ever since societies have emerged. There's a French Nobel laureate, André Gide, who said that the same thing has to be said over and over again because nobody listens to it. But this is a lesson which goes back to 3,000 years. Atri Smriti, a very old traditional Smriti of our Vedic thought, talks about a responsible king, talks about a person who is willing to work for the people. And how does he go about it? He says punishment for the wicked. He says adoration for the good natured. And you see the second line is most important, Nyayen Pushasya cha sampravriddhi, meaning growth and prosperity gained on the path of justice. It's not simply growth, it's not simply prosperity, gained on the path of justice. So this is the thing which was brought to our notice almost 3,000 years back. Can we move to the next? I'll show you the other thought. This happened about when Chanakya wrote Arthashastra 2000 years plus. It says again to be always awake. When you see the king, this is what we're talking of a leader. We're not talking of a feudal king, we're talking about a leader, and all of us are leaders in our own ways. In a family, there are leaders. In a peer group, there are leaders. In a society, there are leaders. To be always awake. Now, what does being always awake mean? It does not mean that you are up 24/7. It just means that you are basically alert. Your mind is 24/7 connected, involved with whatever you're doing. And it goes on to say, if you look at the last line, in the joy of his people is his joy. So can a leader be of such a nature that he enjoys when his people are really joyous? So that is what Chanakya said at that moment of time. The thing has continued over the years, and the first thing which a leader needs to do is to establish a sense of credibility. A credibility doesn't happen overnight. Today we are in the age of social media. Narratives are built up in a month, the narratives are brought down in another month. But notwithstanding the narratives and notwithstanding the boost of social media and whatnot, the credibility has to be built up over a period of time. When we talk of taking responsibility, it's not the task of taking responsibility for my own action. That, in any case, you have to. It's also the responsibility of taking the responsibility of every action which every member of the team takes. So if somebody If I worked in the police department, which is a very challenging department in the sense that the citizen satisfaction is very low as far as police goes. So what do I do? I have to take responsibility for the poor functioning of that person who's interacting with the citizen on the ground, on the road. I cannot say that, look here, I'm doing my job responsibility, I'm not bothered about what the other people are doing. Can I have that sense of responsibility that I am willing to say that whatever mistakes are being done are my mistakes? If you're willing to say that, if you're willing to come up to that exacting standards, then the situation changes for a little while. I have seen that the same people who you find are indifferent, who you find are rude, who you find are not really interested, when they are woven into small teams, when they're created and when you give them a responsibility, when you make them accountable for it, there is an amazing change in their approach and attitude towards the work which they are doing. The moment they start sort of knowing that, well, yes, I am being trusted. I can give an answer to this person. I'm no longer just an automated machine. In our systems, the challenges are manifold, and one of the major challenges, if you must have heard, there was a time when a famous chief minister said that, or a notorious one, क्या हम कोई क्या दरोगा है जो सस्पेंड कर दिए जाएंगे, which meant that it's only the people in uniform who will be found accountable. So people said, if we have to be found accountable, why should we work at all? How do you change that culture? That is where the work of the leader starts, and that is where you make them into a cohesive team. You make them. I would recall, you all guys must have seen the Kumbh which happened in Prayagraj a year back. We had a similar Kumbh in Ujjain called Sihast. We trained 20,000 people for almost 9 months. We made each of them feel important, and we made each of them take pride into the work which they are giving. We sort of supported their esteem, and it was such a pleasure to see that at the end of that particular 1 month exercise, which involved more than 20,000 people working, the iconic image which remained was that on a railway station overbridge, a young constable is carrying an 80-year-old woman in his arms and bringing her down from the bridge, and there are throngs of people crossing across. She would have probably been stampeded across had the fellow had not helped him. And there was so amazing to see that all the efforts made for months to create those teams got such a fantastic response from the not only from the consumer, from the public, from the media, for everybody. These days, it is like if you do something good, if what you do gets applauded, if what you do gets noticed, automatically the consumers, even the political class, the media, the influencers, everybody notice it, and they sort of applaud you. And that very applaud, that very esteem is what drives the motivation of the team higher and starts bringing into a positive loop. That is fantastic. I have seen that, you would have all heard of what is known as the National Disaster Response Force, of people who are trained to help people in times of flood, in times of earthquakes and whatnot. So I've created a very small team of home guards. I don't know if you're aware, but home guards are the least paid people in the uniformed forces, and probably they are treated very badly. The same home guards, when we put them into a deep sea diving training experience, we put them into a rescue and assault training experience, and we created a small team of 40, 50 people. They were the ones who were so motivated that they took all efforts to rescue people. They would not even care for their lives. That sort of a team is what we require. You have, I believe that you have a speaker coming in later today. who will talk about the National Security Guard thing. Such teams are the teams which deliver results which are much beyond the ordinary spectrum of the expectations. Now, can this thing be continued? Can this thing go on in a longer period? Because while the systematic changes, the technological things are moving on, it's still a work in progress. And for a huge country like ours, it will take probably, I don't know, even if it happens, because each time you create a technology, you sort of create, let's say, geofencing, and you sort of create things to enforce public as well as uh, the machinery response, it doesn't work. But when you sort of bring them into a positive sphere, they start responding. Now, there is a saying in Hindi, I can use a few words, I'm sure. The saying in Hindi says, "Chor ko chabi pakdana hai." Now, this is what I found was so effective. Somebody says that, oh, such and such person is completely, you cannot trust this person, cannot be relied upon. And he called that person, says, here is the key, you are the responsible person, and please ensure that there is nothing goes wrong. And the person ensures that nothing goes wrong. So can we do that? Can we create such bigger teams? Small teams are good to work with. Small teams have a problem that when we need more and more numbers coming in, more and more areas to be covered, the small teams cannot cover all of them. So can we do it with larger teams? Yes. How can you do it? Can you do it in a situation where can you create those communication channels? What I found something very interesting was that if you're able to listen to the people who are supposed to do that work, if you're willing to acknowledge that they have issues which need to be resolved, if you do that, automatically you'll find that they are willing to come by with you. Of course, there will be some people who are completely, I would say, incorrigible and who cannot be really helped out of the problem which they have created for themselves. But most of the people are willing to come to the team and stand by and be counted. I will narrate an experience of an event which happened last year in this very state.